this matrix that we live in doesn't overtake us. So I think we all can agree that we live in a world that we haven't evolved to live in. There's constant stressors that are demanding our time and attention 24/7. We're getting notifications on our social media. We're getting emails coming through. Derek, how many emails you got unopened right now?
24,000.
24,000. So Derek hits that subscribe button a lot, signs up for those email lists. But anyway, long story short, we find ourselves in chronic states of dissatisfaction in life. We find ourselves in states of pain, low energy, and we end up, and this is generalization obviously, but we end up chasing carrots to try to fulfill that void, like to make ourselves feel better. And a lot of times that manifests in thinking we need to exercise more, or we need to read more, or we need to get on a different diet. And while all of those are probably a really good idea for most of us, a lot of times it's taken out of context. So the result of that is even people that really take the time and the personal responsibility and accountability to better their situation, despite all the free information that's out there, all the amazing influencers that are available to us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, they don't put it in context for us. So it's almost created, from what I've seen anyway, it's almost created this worse situation, further disintegration in a lot of people because they're following misinformation or they're not able to put things in context for them. So what does this have to do with jiu-jitsu? Well, I've worked with several people in this room and a few people outside this room that are in martial arts, combat sports, and the main complaint they're showing up with is pain in the body. Pain in the body, lack of mobility, and they're experiencing energy drains, stress, usually tied into their ability to maintain their current schedule, right? Because you guys all work full-time, I'm sure. Anybody here do jiu-jitsu full-time? But you work when you're doing it, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of it, okay. So you guys all have full-time jobs, and you probably have families, you have other responsibilities outside of this place, and this is probably your sanctuary. This is probably where you come to release all that, and that's awesome. But there's a few things that if you're not aware of, this place and what you do on the mat can further your dissatisfaction in life. And what I mean by that is if you're not aware of the things that are causing pain, immobility, low energy, lack of satisfaction in your life, this can just add to it, right? Because it's a responsibility, right? The class is on its schedule and you get to pick which class you want to show up to, but it's not like, hey, whenever you're ready, just come on down, we'll roll, right? So there's an obligation to be here. There's an obligation for your family. There's an obligation to your employer. There's an obligation to yourself. And a lot of times we're not aware of that, and we're not sure where the self fits in the grand scheme of things. We have this innate sense we need to take care of ourselves. We have this innate sense that we need to take care of other people. We have this innate sense or conscious knowledge that we have certain responsibilities we have to take care of in the world. But what's the order of operations? Where do I fit in this? Is it selfish for me to take care of myself? What if other people need me? So all these things are flowing around in our mind. And meanwhile, you're getting texts, emails, notifications 24/7. So what I would like to share with you today is kind of my approach to dealing with people's pain, immobility, low energy. Now, is anybody in this room not deal with any of this? So everybody's got this to some extent? Okay. Show of hands if pain in the body is like your number one thing. Pain. Okay. If show of hands if low energy, number one thing. Pain, low energy. Overall dissatisfaction or not really knowing why you're doing what you're doing. Okay, that's a tough one for everyone to admit. What's your name? Jordan, tell me why you show up to jiu-jitsu every day and why you do everything outside of jiu-jitsu. What is your big motivating purpose behind that?
Outside of jiu-jitsu?
Everything.
Well, I guess it's twofold. So outside of jiu-jitsu, everything I do is for my family, provide a better life for my kids and my wife, work related or whatever else. But why I do jiu-jitsu is is the biggest stress relief, because all that other stuff is very stressful in my life, and this is my release.
Gotcha. Does your obligation to this place ever cause you stress?
No.
Awesome. It just releases it.
Yeah.
What about physical stress, pain in the body?
Oh, that's all the time.
All the time. Okay, 24/7. All right. Awesome.
Jordan just had Achilles surgery.
Oh, okay. All right. So, what caused that? Basketball. So it was an acute event. Gotcha. Okay. How about you, big guy? Davis, what do you do? Why do you come to jiu-jitsu, and why do you do everything you do outside of jiu-jitsu?
I come to jiu-jitsu to do at least some sort of physical activity that doesn't involve work, and do everything outside of jiu-jitsu. Just to maintain a livelihood.
Yeah. And why is physical activity so important for you?
Because I spent years not doing it.
Gotcha.
And realized that it's easy to kind of get lost and basically my schedule was work, drink, sleep.
Yeah.
And I started throwing jiu-jitsu into that, and kind of starting to see when you're not doing that all the time, holy crap, start feeling a lot better.
Yeah. So why is feeling better important to you?
Makes it easier to exist.
Yeah.
Do everything else I need to do.
Absolutely. And could you say that there's a couple things outside of jiu-jitsu that are main contributors to you not feeling good?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Care to share?
I eat like shit.
Okay. So what's your purpose behind eating like shit?
Laziness, convenience, I guess. I don't want to actually do the healthy thing because the unhealthy thing is right there and available.
Yeah.
So it's just that's tomorrow Davis's problem now.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for sharing that. So he's got a sense that he needs to do something to feel better, right? The question is, why do you need to feel better, right? His response was because I eat like shit. Why do you eat like shit? Convenient, right? But we can keep digging. And I won't do that here. But we can keep getting down to that, because the answer, right, why he loves jiu-jitsu so much, the same answer as to why he eats like shit, right? You have an obligation to a job.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. Scale of 1 to 10, how much you love? Scale of 1 to 10, how much? Scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love this job?
Oh, 6.
Okay, so 6 out of 10. So a lot of dissatisfaction. Do you have other options?
Probably.
Gotcha. It's hard to think about that though, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I suppose it comes down to I work for myself, so it's I could do the stable thing, 9 to 5 kind of a thing. Also, I've done that and I hated it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So we're willing participants in this matrix, right? And we all kind of know that on some level it's a game, and on another level it's a game that we choose to play. And if we're aware of the right things, we can have a lot of fun in the matrix. But as soon as we're operating under these shadows of ours that we don't really understand why we're making the choices we make, it's hard to complete the circle. So would it be a surprise if I said, dude, here's a new guy, just follow it? And you'd be like, oh yeah, makes sense. I mean, would it surprise you if you followed it for 3 months? Would it surprise you to say you probably feel a lot better?
I don't think I'd be surprised.
Yeah. But he knows that. And we all know. So the diet thing for him could be who knows what for Jen, right? Spending time in nature. I don't know. For me, it's making time to have fun. I get really stuck in the rut of responsibility and task-oriented. And I know if I made time to have fun, I would enjoy it and I'd appreciate it, right? But there's something in my shadow, there's something in my consciousness, in my mind, that has me leading down an illusion path. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is, if we don't get in touch with everything it takes for us to feel our best, pain's gonna creep up. Pain's gonna creep up in the body. This isn't a should do, this isn't a, you'd be a better person if you did this. This is all about, if you're experiencing pain in the body, low energy, source it. And this is how you source it, okay? So what we're gonna start off with, and thank you for sharing, I appreciate that. So just a couple concepts that I'll share with you today, okay? One is the pattern of how pain manifests in the body, and two, the summation of pain, okay? So might as well start with the summation. So if you think about, there's a term called central sensitization, and basically what that is your body's always working towards homeostasis. So homeostasis is balance within the body, okay? Your allostatic process is the process your body uses to get you to homeostasis. Okay, so there's a process to get you to balance. Your body 24/7, 365 is always working to get you balanced. And if the more shit we throw at the body that challenges it, guess what gets put on hold? Right? Movement, thriving, energy. Because when we're insulting the body with chemical stressors, physical stressors, psychological stressors, your body's like, whoa, we're kind of in a little fight here. Let's put everything else aside and let's worry about this. So if we're coming in here to feel better, maybe it's a nature walk for someone else to feel better, maybe someone really likes to connect with animals, whatever the case may be, whatever our de-stress mechanism is, that's awesome, but the more you feel you need that stuff, it's really efficient to take a look at the other things that we're adding to it that's causing your body to call timeout. Okay? So your overall load, your overall ability, think of it like a bucket. All right, so your body's processing the chemical stressors, the physical stressors, and the psychological stressors. Now every single one that drops in that bucket is gonna summate in the body. So if we think about the job that we don't really like, but damn it, I'm here, pays the bills, right? Maybe we've got some relationships that aren't working out well, whether it be friendships, family members, people at work, whatever the case may be. It's another drop in the bucket, another drop in the bucket. Now, if you think about when we were ancient people, we started the day probably bright and early. We did our hunter gathering, but once the duties for the day were done, after that we're gathering around the campfire, we're singing songs, we're doing art, right? Maybe we're doing some drumming, maybe we're drinking the ayahuasca tea. I don't know, doing all kinds of stuff. And then when the sun sets, we're sitting around the campfire, talking, getting in some sort of a meditative state, right? So we had a lot of opportunities because our day revolved around the sun cycles. Wake up with the sun, go to bed when it sets. We had a lot of opportunities to empty this bucket. Okay, so wake up in the morning, we're out hunting, we get chased by a bear, our buddy hits it with a spear, all good, but then we got all day to decompress, right? But what we don't have is that ability now. We have to manufacture it. There's no break. There's no rest. Craig, you ever get emails in the middle of the night?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anybody ever lay in bed and you hear a notification, you're like, I shouldn't check that, but I'm gonna. You'll be at work, sitting there typing. Dude, every one of those is a fucking drop in the bucket. Right now you can come here and it might empty a lot of that bucket. But then you go home and maybe you stop at Arby's on the way. You wake up and instead of drinking water, we're drinking coffee. Okay? Every one of those is a drop in the bucket. You wake up in the morning and drink coffee before water? Sure. Yeah. Is it ideal? Well, no, but as long as you take care of yourself, you'll be okay. But what I'm saying is we get in this race where the matrix is just bam, just pounding. And we don't even have the awareness that this is going on. And then we intuitively say, man, I need to do something different. And that's when we look up a diet, or we look up an exercise modality, or we follow some influencer that says all the right shit that makes us feel better. Whatever the case may be. And that goes for a little while, but again, we never complete the circle. Okay? So within this physical, chemical, psychological, how many here would say that have pain and energy issues that you could pinpoint right now where your bucket isn't being emptied?
I just know where the pain is.
Oh, okay. Did you get? What's that?
Can you ask that question again?
Yeah. So pain in the body, low energy, lack of mobility. You say know exactly which one of these three is the cause of it: physical, chemical, or psyche.
I know what mine is.
So we don't know for sure. Like it wasn't like yours was an injury.
Well, I was just thinking, I would say physical first, but I think that there's probably a deeper root cause that, like more of a stressful event that probably triggered it. But I'm just trying to think through what, you're doing all this other stuff outside of whether it's jiu-jitsu or basketball where I got hurt, and you don't take the proper time to stretch or take care of your body beforehand, and then something happens. So there's a deeper root cause.
Yeah. Perfect.
I know before I started working with you, I didn't realize how much mine was psyche. Like, so much of my pain is gone. I thought I do MMA, I do jiu-jitsu, and I lift. Like, of course I'm in pain all the time. And then when I started working with you and I dealt with a lot of my, like, psychological problems that I didn't even know I had, so much, like, probably 60% of my pain is gone. And the rest that remains, I'm like, okay, it makes sense. I do MMA, I lift, I do jiu-jitsu. But I didn't realize, like, how much of it came from outside of the gym entirely.
Yeah.
Just stress.
Lauren's a great case study in this. Great case study. Lauren, do you mind me sharing the anxiety thing? Okay. So Lauren's big thing was anxiety. Now, how much energy did it take you to be anxious all day?
So much. I'm like a people pleaser, so I was always worried about like everybody being okay, and you can't control how everybody else feels all the time. And so that was just weighing on me, like all the time. Every room I walked into, I was like, oh my gosh, someone here is not okay, and I can feel it.
Yeah.
And that's, a lot of stress.
Can anybody else relate to that? What about anger? Anyone but Derek. What about anger? Let's see, what else? Guilt. Was guilt a big one for anybody in here? No? Okay. Anxiety seems to be the big one. Okay. Does anyone have an idea of why anxiety was causing pain for Lauren? Physical pain. Lauren, what?
Just because it causes like chronic stress, and so it's like wearing her down a little bit.
Beautiful.
Is it like inflammation or?
Yeah. There's no one answer.
We do those at us.
There's no one answer. I guarantee anybody that has something in your mind is probably right. It's probably right. So there is no one answer. You're exactly right. Chronic. That word right there, chronic. Chronic. Does everybody understand the difference between chronic and acute? For those that don't, chronic is something that develops slowly over time. Acute is something that's sudden. So tearing your Achilles playing basketball is an acute event, but there's a possibility if you were to trace the patterns of movement and the patterns of overload, the length tension imbalances, the postural alignment, we might find that the root cause wasn't the basketball. Or it might have been. Okay, so that's the difference. So, Lauren, can I ask, when you experience anxiety, how long would it typically last? Like one event?
Days.
Yeah.
Very long periods of time.
Yeah.
Even sometimes months later, it'd just pop back in my head, and I'd be like, oh, that one time I said that one thing. Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to see that person.
Yes.
What happened to your breathing when you were anxious?
Definitely goes up.
Yeah.
Lots of more shallow, like fast breathing.
Yeah. So what she just said was shallow breathing, increased respiratory rate. Does anybody here realize how that contributes to pain in the body, lack of energy, or low mobility? So mobility. So mobility is more than just our body moving. Our body is just the projector. Body's just the hologram of what's going on in our mind and our soul. Okay, so movement, Lauren would experience blockages in her body that would cause pain. And they were directly correlated with where she was feeling the anxiety. So movement is the ability to move emotions in and out. It's the ability to move thoughts in and out. And the better you can move emotions in and out and thoughts in and out, the better your body's moving. Okay, so in the example of Lauren's breathing would completely lock up, right? And where she was experiencing the pain was directly on the other side of the diaphragm, right here in the T8 region. Okay, it's also where the bra strap is, so. Does anyone else wear a bra besides this too? So when you wear your bra, just make sure that you get some time training with the bra off. Exactly. Because the physical, so she got a physical and a mental emotional restriction in the same spot. Okay, so Lauren was worried about, did I make somebody mad, right? And that is right in her heart zone, right? So she's feeling that in her heart, she's feeling the anxiety in her stomach, and then she's got the sports bra because she's training 7 days a week, and she's got the sports bra that's blocking that area up. So now she's got a trifecta here. Not chemical, but physical and psychological. And psyche's mind, emotions, thoughts. So right there, Lauren thought it was my workout program. I need a workout program, she says, right? So she shows up, I do the assessment, asked a couple questions that she was like, why did you ask that? and so it kind of set us on the right path, all right? So right there is an example of how your psychological, your response to the world, and the events in the world can cause you to lock up. Lauren, what has changed between then and now to where you're not locked up in those areas anymore, or the event doesn't cause anxiety for days?
I guess I have strategies to like move through it. It's not that I don't still have those thoughts, but I have processes to move them through, and like just realizing like who I am and why I feel the way that I do, and it's a lot easier to like break those thoughts down and then let them go instead of just ruminating on them and sitting there being like, oh my gosh, like be like, oh, that's a thought and it's gone. Yeah.
So that's dismantling. Now, if we apply that to the physical body, how's that any different than knowing that I have tight quads? So before I train, I'm going to foam roll and stretch. Same thing. You're dismantling the tightness in your quads. She's dismantling the tightness in her psyche and her mental emotional body. For some of you younger guys, you might be like, what the fuck, dude? Right? And trust me, I'm 43. I'll be 44 in like 2 weeks. I get it, all right? But if nothing else, just let the seed be planted. Okay? There's someday you won't have all this testosterone flowing through you that just like, cuts out all the bullshit, right? But someday, like, this stuff will catch up to you, right? Testosterone covers up a lot of stuff. So, all right. So we kind of brushed over all of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of bullet point this stuff and then ask if anybody has any questions. Because I think we did like an overview, but then this is more nuts and bolts. Like some of you younger dudes that are having problems, like, that might not want to look at that stuff, this might be a better avenue for you. But so basically mobility in the physical, there's only a few things that really matter. Seriously. Your shoulder can only move in so many different directions, your hips can only move in so many different directions. And like at some point, like if you foam rolled your way out of it, if you mobilized your way out of it and it's still not getting any better, then that's a good time to start looking at this other stuff. Like what am I putting in my body? But you got 7 primal patterns of movement basically. I mean, Jiu-Jitsu, I know it's like, I gotta get real creative when I'm watching you guys roll to figure out what primal patterns of movement you're actually using. But all of them at once, exactly. I mean, that's a pull twist, kind of, yeah, a little bit of a lunge, maybe. But you got the squat, you got the push, you got the pull, you got the bend, you got the lunge, you got twist, you got gait. And so if you have immobility, there's one of those patterns that you just have an opportunity to improve.
What's the difference between gait and lunge?
Between gait and lunge?
Yeah.
So that's a great question. So what gait is the culmination of all of those, being able to integrate.
Gotcha.
Right? Like you might not think a push-pull, like how's that gait? But in proper gait, you got a twist in your gait, and if you can't push with a twist and pull with a twist, then your gait will suffer.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So the lunge is just a chopped up version of the gait. So the lunge portion of the gait would be this. right? The single leg phase. Single leg phase.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Yeah, so lunge is inclusive in gait, gait is not necessarily inclusive in lunge.
Gotcha.
Does anybody know that if they have a primal pattern of movement that they are just shitting? Do you mind coming up?
Squat.
Squat? Okay. Single leg or squat?
So I feel like I can't, like I'm falling backwards all the time, rather like watching Ethan or Rob just sit here for like an hour.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like if I don't compensate, and I think it's like my either calf mobility or
Yeah.
ankle
Sure.
mobility.
You're on.
Okay, yeah. Well, I feel like I have like always.
When is your workshop? I'll be here.
No, but I don't know how to improve those things.
Sure. And so we won't go through this with every primal pattern, but this is the nuts and bolts. So the squat has folds. You got to fold your ankle, fold your knee, fold your hips, and then you've got to maintain spinal alignment. Inability to do any of that, right? We've got to look at length and tension relationships, and we've got to look at the actual anatomy of this guy, right? So, should have brought my stuff. But it looks to me like he's got a pretty long femur, right? With my opinionated opinion. And he might have been shown how to squat by somebody who's got a really short femur and long tibia, right? It's gonna be a different squat, different squat. So go ahead and get in your squat. Now, has anyone told you that your squat is bad?
No, but I guess no one would have been in the position to really.
All right. So when you say your squat is bad, that's based on what?
Feeling like not being comfortable in it for more than about now.
Yeah. So he hangs on his squat, right? Hangs on his squat. Now, what if you didn't try to get ass to grass? What if you were to just think, you know what? I'm just going to go to a comfortable point of squat. If I had shit in the woods, right? And like I could sit here for 2 minutes before my legs start trembling. What would that look like?
Probably like so, not even like
Don't worry about
parallel
that. Fucking nothing. Don't worry about how it looks, none of that shit.
Probably like here.
Okay, cool. Now, if you were to push the comfort level to where you're stable, how's that feel?
Probably here.
How's that feel?
Okay.
Compared to dropping your ass. Drop your ass in. How's that feel?
I don't know. It's like this is more stressful, like frame wise, and then this is more like muscular stressful.
So go back to that comfortable spot. All right. Everybody take a look at his lumbar spine right here. Right. Now drop. Down, all the way down. See that? His spine. Come back up. Turn this way. Look at the shape of his spine. What does it do? What does it do? What does it do? Go ass to grass now.
Hooks down.
Woo! Doesn't it? Goes woo. Yeah. Now, major butt wink, right? That's more than butt wink. Like that's happening right here.
Yeah.
All right. So for him, let's say, come on up. So for him, come on. So this could be a number of things. It could be where his hip sockets are inserted. It could be the direction or the position that they're inserted in. Or there could just be some miscommunication going on in his lumbar spine and his hips, pelvis, glute complex. So what I'm trying to get at here is that is there opportunity to improve his squat? Sure. Is his squat dangerous? Why?
Likely.
Yeah.
You're bearing a lot of weight in that lower back. You send all the way down.
Yeah. And then the transfer from where he's comfortable to where he thinks he needs to be to have a proper squat, in that transfer, his lumbar just right? So I would say your biggest area of opportunity in the squat would be, why are you squatting in a way that's not comfortable? Sure. And full transparency, dude, I get some squat you. I go to here, and it's like, okay, that's buried, bro. And then you put a barbell on my back, and I'm like, oh shit, that's deep, right? But what I feel is deep is an even bigger parallel. So he might have hip insertions that are different than yours or yours. He might have injury in his lumbar spine that's caused things to shut down. That can be rehabilitated. Might have SI joint tightness, strain, and he might just have a really lax lumbar from all the flexion that you guys do in jiu-jitsu, right? So if that's the case, we want to maintain his ability to safely go in flexion. But I'd be curious what his ability to maintain extension was. That's going to be a Swiss ball, and I totally spaced it. Let's check something down here. Go ahead and lay down. On your belly. Super simple, all right? So I know this is like, in my office, it'd be like a 3-minute thing, okay? But what we can find out, boom, right here, so your squat is, like, basically everything that's going on is going on right here, okay? And then what goes on above it is in response to what's going on down here, okay? So go ahead and just flatten out for me if you would. There you go. Teach that here, attack!
Don't worry, you're
How's that look? Good? So this is super simple. Like we're just gonna see what's turning on in here. All right. Take a big breath for me. And see if you can get this to raise up as high as you can. Just do a couple of those. On the outside of the spine. Right, so here's the vertebrae. We're just going to border him just like that. So what I'm checking here is I'm checking his intrinsic muscles near his spine. Breathe in. Exhale.
I can feel his erectors like curving in.
All right. Go ahead. Relax. All right. Now I'm going to have you take two more big breaths. And this time, when you exhale, I want you to act like you're holding back the flow of urine. Okay? Big breath. Stop that flow of urine. There you go. Okay, so what I've discovered is that he's just got erector dominance here. And what that means is in comparison to the deep intrinsic spinal muscles here. So why is that important? Because the deep intrinsic muscles segmentally stabilize the spine. And so his body, as he's going down into the squat, knows that these erectors are taking over, and they are not going to allow him to drop any further. Even though he forces it, they're saying, okay, stop right here. Stop right here, because he's not segmentally stabilized. He's globally stabilized. So these big erector muscles are nice and strong. They're stabilizing chunks of the spine. And right here where they're the strongest, the most prominent, is right where we didn't see the spine bend when he went down into the squat. Does that make sense? So you have this reverse C when he goes down into a squat, but you said butt wink? Were you the one who said butt wink? You said butt wink. So what butt wink generally occurs around like the sacral here.
Dude, that's a dope nickname.
Usually occurs around the sacral area, but his wink is happening like right in here. Because these erectors are really strong. His erectors are really strong. And so injury consideration for him would be in this spot here. Do you ever get anything going on in this spot?
I don't, luckily.
No. Okay. How about anywhere else in the back?
I'm pretty
okay?
Yeah, I'm pretty good with pain in general.
Yeah, super stable. He's very stable. Very stable. This is
Stable guy.
Pretty
yeah.
I knew that about you, man.
Yeah.
Standard drug regimen.
Yeah.
Stay stable.
Yeah.
So what?
You rigid emotionally, or you pretty
Super rigid.
rigid?
So
there's a correlation there.
If I do squats, then is it just go shallower, and I mean, or is it something to try and work on to increase? Because I'd like to be able to increase the mobility.
Yeah. So that's a
Ethan's showing up.
great question. What do you say?
Ethan's just showing up right now.
Oh,
It's a comfortable way to sit. You don't have to like flex it.
you don't have to flex anything. Just sit there. shit, I should have tried that, right? This is why people get hurt, because they squat with people like that, right? And they're like, dude, you need to get lower. You need to get lower. But to answer your question, bro. Fuck, I'm gonna have to edit the shit out of this. So to answer your question, yes, if you don't have time for a bunch of corrective exercises, right? Work on your breathing. That will help those intrinsic muscles just turn on. It'll help pump your organs and all that. Work on your breathing and squat to the level that's comfortable. And the better you get at stabilizing those inner unit muscles, right? Activating, turning them on, actually using them through movement, the better you get at that, the deeper you'll be able to go in the squat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep. And ankle mobility, you could use some more ankle mobility, but quite honestly, if you've got a pretty long femur, your squat is going to be more like that. Whereas if you got shorter femur, those upright, those people, none of us like to watch squat, right? All upright, ass to grass, their hamstrings are touching their ankles, and they're like, why don't you just do this?
It's like front squats probably aren't the best for me then.
Yeah, skip when they suck. In the basic front squats, especially if you're racking them like that. No, don't skip your front squats. I wouldn't skip them. It's just tune into that area of your body and just realize, that your squat depth for the time being is probably around here, and just train in that range. Work on your breathing, right, so that you can soften up those erectors. Because the deeper you go into your squat, the more of those fuckers are just going to take over.
So is it deep breathing, or what's the breathing pattern to
Yeah.
turn those muscles on?
Yeah, diaphragmatic breathing. So, Derek, you want to come? All right, so if you can turn to the audience here. Good. All right, so give me a chest breath, maybe just a stress breath. So this is how most people breathe. When you're in the middle of something and you get a notification on your phone and you go look at it, right? If you're really paying attention, with one side, you're going to get a tiny stress response. So it's known as moral reflex. And the moral reflex is when any of you have kids, when you have babies, when they're falling asleep, it's so cute, they'll be laying there just like that. That's moral response. It's reflex action. Well, we grow out of that. But sometimes in infant development, we don't phase that out. And some people have a really strong moral response. I think Lauren, we talked about that, right? So Lauren's moral response is no, oh God, right? And all those oh gods, we're locking this shit up right in here, right? This creates inability for movement to occur in the emotional body. Shit just gets stuck there. Next thing you know, she's got back problems. Okay? So that is a chest breath that we generally see. Now, what a chest breath does is it's going to lock up your diaphragm. Your diaphragm is just going to stay stuck. And it's also going to not imbibe the organs in the lower back. So every time you breathe fully, show them a big full belly breath there. This is how they do before and afters too. Before. After. Nutrisystem, they deliver it to my front door. But when Derek takes a big full belly breath, everything expands. Separates the compression that occurs in the lower spine from the stress and our jobs and all that. But what it's doing is it's imbibing. So your discs, your neurological components around here, the muscular system, the structural system, the muscular system, all that needs nutrition, right? It needs oxygenated blood flow into it that's full of nutrients. It needs to be able to go from compression to decompression. But when we lock it up in here, that doesn't happen. So we create rigidity in the lumbar spine. Okay, rigidity, and we invite these, what we call outer unit, which is farther away from the spine. We invite those to do the work of the inner unit muscles, because the inner unit muscles they can't handle it. They can't handle it. They turn on for a second and shut off. What they're designed to do is be on 24/7. They're designed, they're what's called the tonic muscle system. They're always on. But when we shut them off, then we have to turn what we call phasic muscle groups. Phasic means they turn on and command. We tell them to turn on. Whereas the other ones, the tonic muscle groups, they just do their thing. Like a dimmer switch in a room. You walk in a light, in a room with the light comes on because it's got a sensor, that would be like a tonic muscle group. If you have to flip the switch and turn it on because you're activating motion, that's more of a phasic group. Okay. So he's taking his tonic, by chest breathing, he's taking his tonic muscle groups out of here and incorporating solely phasic. Okay. So what's that mean for your squat? That means your body's just protecting because of rigidity in the lumbar spine, right? And so lumbar spine, age of development is 7 to 14. So for someone with like a rigid lumbar spine with no really plausible explanation for it, I would just say, did something happen when you were around 14, middle school time, that made you think that a rigid strategy for life was ideal? Or did something happen that you became aware of at the age of 14? This shit is all real, man. This isn't woo-woo. This is not woo-woo. You're looking at someone who, if you would have told me this crap 4 years ago, that would have been your response. Come across this through life experience, working with wonderful people, and obviously through study.
12 months ago, that was my response.
Yeah.
So what changed for you?
The pain message got so fucking loud. This bucket got so full and overflowed. And at the time that it happened, I was exposed to somebody that had all the information that made sense to me. And I was like, I have to figure out what this guy's all about. His name's Paul Chek. He has an institute called the Chek Institute. That's where I studied, so I'm certified. So that's what changed for me. Like, the pain in the body was ridiculously obstructive, I guess. Like it wasn't one of these things where it's like I can't move, but it's like fucking everything I did I had to like consider like my pain points. And it was an all of them. It was an all of them. I was eating like shit. I was drinking like a fish. I was about 220 pounds, about 150, 155 right now, and I was a mess up here. Absolute mess. For me, it was anger. I was pissed off at everybody and everything. And I was unwilling to see my role in it. And I got to the point where the pain got so loud, and the guy I was listening to was like, you fucking cause all of it. If you don't like where you're at, look at what you're choosing. And the more attention you focus outward, the more attention you're wasting by not looking where the problem is. So for me, that's what it was. I'm a type of guy, it takes a big signal, it takes a loud message, it takes a brick upside the head, pretty much. And that's what I got. That's exactly what I got. All right, so we talked about the primal patterns of movement, what we just talked about up there with the inner unit muscles, the outer unit muscles, length tension relationships. All of that is what we call the RC factor in postural alignment. So it's resistance contraction factor. You have a fascial network, you have neurological network, your breathing and your energy levels based on your hormone profile is all tied into all of this, but in the physical body, sleep, rest. If you don't get the proper amount of rest, you're just never going to recover. Never going to recover. Last 2 fight camps, your recovery protocol was a little different. What was the I guess the before and after, the give and take of how you used to prepare and how you started to prepare, and what was the difference?
Well, I definitely used to do just go, and it was never enough. I couldn't do enough cardio. I couldn't make enough practices. Like, I did, at least a cardio and a workout every day, and I'd go to this gym and dog pound every single day, and my recovery was definitely pretty crazy. And I wasn't able to use my strategies for overcoming stress, which was eating, because I was in fight camp, so then I felt even more emotionally overloaded, because I was like, my only stress relief and I can't do it. And these last ones, like, I've done my cardio, I've done my workouts, but if I have a day where I'm like, holy crap, I don't feel like I can do it, then maybe that's a day I focus more on sauna, and cold exposure and sleep more. And so I'm still doing the things my body needs, but I don't know, my cardio felt a lot better. I dropped weight like no problem. It wasn't even a stress at all.
How many calories did you count?
None. Normally I was like a Nazi about counting my calories, and I counted no calories in my last fight camp.
Yeah. And you showed up what?
I'm a pound underweight.
Pound
I
under.
had
You were
to
drinking
eat-
water right
I had
before
to
weigh-in?
eat before I got on the scale.
Yeah, yeah. And just, I've only been with you for a couple fight camps, but I remember the first one, was it the first one? Where you had that week of anxiety,
Yes.
right? I mean, I think it was for the last one too, but Lauren wasn't completely like, oh shit, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do it different and I'm gonna trust it, right? She was kind of, I don't want to say half in, half out, but there's still this like unfamiliar territory. And the reason why her weight cut was so much more effective this time in my opinionated opinion, is because this bucket wasn't nearly full. And what wasn't happening is her body kicking up cortisol, right? Which was either amplifying inflammation or in response to inflammation. That could have been from some chemical or physical stressors from food she was choosing to deal with her stress.
I do feel like the amount of cardio I felt like I need to do, like it felt like in order to lose weight, I have to just do more. Like I need to work out more.
Yeah.
And this time it was like, no, I just trust the process and the weight will come off. We just don't eat like an asshole.
Yeah.
I'll be fine. And that was the case. Like,
So what happens to weight loss when you do too much cardio?
I'm assuming your stress hormones just like shoot through the roof, and then your body's like, oh no, we're under attack. We gotta hold on to everything.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And really, what's the root cause of that? Stress, but why?
Anxiety.
Why?
Because I've just gotta do more
Yeah.
to be better.
Yeah. Awareness, right? Right? It's like, I gotta do more of what? Of what? Yeah, maybe you do need more, to do more to be ready for this fight. Of what? Of what? The answer was recovery. She need to do more recovery instead of more cardio, kicking up her stress hormones.
So that was also the first one I went into with no injuries. I've never not had an injury before a fight, so yeah.
Yeah. So ramping down the overtraining and increasing the recovery and trusting her preparation. The weight didn't come on, right? The weight loss was simple, super simple. So, any questions about like the physical? This is the one everybody goes to, like all your Instagram mobility experts and all. This is all they focus on right here, all this shit. It's important. It ain't it. It ain't it. That's like saying the engine's the car. Chemical. Is anybody aware of the chemical influence on our body as far as stress, inflammation, pain, lack of energy?
Well, where could we-
Oh. Does anybody have like an explanation, a personal explanation that they would want to share, or? Okay, cool. So, basically, like, I'm sure it's no surprise, but our body was meant to process things within our environment, right? Things that aren't good for us, kidneys, liver, all that system flushes it out. Renal system flushes it out. But what about stuff that we weren't created to withstand? Right? Whatever your theory is as far as evolution or creation, I don't think we ever evolved to eat Roundup, and I don't think we were ever created to eat Roundup. Yet it's in everything we eat. Even the organic shit. You're finding it in everything. Red dyes. There's more carcinogens in sunscreen, yet we're putting carcinogens all over our body to avoid the source of life in our solar system. That's an example of being taught what to think, not how to think. I'm not saying the sun doesn't cause cancer if you are overexposed to it, but we're taking things that have been proven in labs to cause cancer and putting them all over our skin. We're eating stuff mindlessly that we know is full of poison. We know it. But because it doesn't say on the box, this contains Roundup, it's out of sight, out of mind. So just lack of awareness on things that people are working really hard to keep you from being aware of. Okay, so these are the things that we call unknown stressors. Unknown. Your boss chews your ass, you know where that came from. You know where that stressor came from, right? You stub your toe on the bedpost waking up at midnight to take a piss. You know where that stressor came from, right? But if you wake up one day with a foggy head and diarrhea, and you're like, gosh dang, I ate pretty good yesterday. What happened? Right? Why did you choose a pasture-raised, organic, grass-fed source for that meat you ate? Oh, there we go again with the hippie talk and the organic, right? And that's kind of where we're at. It's kind of where we're at. So we've got the chemical stressors. I just use a few. Some big ones, some major ones. Obviously, processed foods. Processed foods. Everybody know the difference between processed and whole foods? Yeah, whole foods are real food. Grows out of the ground. Eat something that grows out of the ground. But what we do, especially calorie counters, eat a lot of fucking processed foods because they have a barcode and you just scan it. Goes right into MyFitnessPal. It's got the nutrition information. But anyway, processed foods are not food, they're non-foods, they're anti-nutrient dense. Basically, it takes, most processed foods, it takes more energy and vitality for you to process it, assimilate it, and make it seem like food than it will actually give you. That's why they're called anti-nutrients. So we introduce that to our body, there's more drops into the bucket, and then, oh man, I got this knee thing and I gotta go roll tonight. Fuck, I'm not gonna miss class. I'll pop a few ibuprofen, I'll go in there. And I'm saying ibuprofen's the devil. But if you take a look at the back of any of those non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, take a look at any of the labels and they'll say don't take these for more than 6 weeks. That's because they cause gut inflammation, leaky gut, and they actually increase the inflammation in your body. So it creates this dependent loop. So a lot of us are walking around eating processed foods, taking pharmaceutical drugs or over-the-counter drugs, and then maybe we're partaking in some imbibing in some spirits on the weekend, or maybe a nightcap or a couple beers before dinner, something like that. All that, like in itself, it's not going to kill you. It's not going to be bad. But then we combine the psyche stressors that we don't even know what the hell. I have no idea, right? Like Lauren, we figured out with Lauren, like it comes out, like we could say 2 or 3 words and that would explain what was causing everything. And that's not even a joke. 2 or 3 words. 2 or 3 words. Say these words, Lauren, how do you feel? Well, fuck, I don't like that. Right? But something as simple as that, we're not aware of. So we got all that going into our bucket. If we were to have a couple drinks, not a big deal. If we had to take a few ibuprofen once in a while, not a big deal. You know, you have a Snickers bar once in a while, not a big deal. But all these things are adding to the bucket. 12 Snickers bars? I don't mess with the snack size ones either.
Sure.
Yeah, some houses give out the full candy bars for Halloween. I eat the full candy bars and I give out the snack size. So, any questions about physical or chemical? Any of it not make sense or not resonate or like sounds like bullshit? If it does, I mean, I'm happy to address that. Like, I get it. If it sounds like bullshit, I totally get it. Good? Okay.
Somebody say it.
What's that?
Said somebody say it.
Somebody come on, say it. Just say it. Derek likes to fight. So this is my favorite part of the whole thing. And it's because this is the only thing that matters, in my opinion. In my opinion. And why do I say that? 100% of the people that come up to work with me, 100% of them show up for something besides this. 100% end up focusing 3/4 of our time on this. Why? Because we try this, like we go through something similar like we just did over here, but you know, anywhere from 1.5 to 6 hours of that shit, right? And then they get a workout that's like this long, and you know, anywhere, depending on how much time you have, if you got all the time, it's like a 2-hour workout. None of the exercises are fun at all. Not even kind of fun. Now when we start getting to like the kinetic chain work and all that shit, that's fun. But the corrective stuff is not fun. So they need to see the value in it, and they don't see the value in it until they figure out what the hell is actually wrong. Right? If your issue is I don't know, my digestion is horrible because I always eat on the run in a stressful environment. And you find out that's because this person had a home life when they were young, that their dad came home drunk every night. And you didn't know if he was going to be happy drunk or pissed off drunk. But he always came home at dinner time, wanted dinner to be ready, and everybody sit down and eat dinner together. Well, that person's eating environment was always in a stressful, fearful state, not knowing what they were going to be dealing with that night. So they're just shoveling food down. Fast forward 25 years later, they got digestive issues. Right? And it's causing their intermediate muscles to shut down, it's causing their organs to stay inflamed, it's causing their phasic muscle groups to just do all kinds of things that they're not supposed to do. Next thing you know, this person slips a disc. They come in, now your program, I can tell you all the exercises I would give that person. But the issue really is your relationship with food, what it means to you, and how to get your breathing turned back on. Again, that's not fun either. It's not fun for anybody. Right? You're going to do 5 minutes of deep diaphragmatic short stop breathing today. Guess what percentage of my clients skip that shit when we don't do this? When they take their workout home?
100%.
Oh, lucky guess, because that's probably what everyone here would do. That's what I would do. It's exactly what I would do. I'd say, oh yeah, I did the horse stance, I did the crawls, I did the single leg pull thingies, and I did all that stuff. And look at me, look how good I can do this now, right? It's like, but did you do your breathing? Sometimes. It's like that's the only thing you needed. It's the only thing you need. If I couldn't give you a one exercise workout, you would be like, what the fuck am I paying you for? Right? So we play this game for a little bit, but eventually we settle on this. Because there will be a week where they didn't get to any of their exercises. There will be a week where they didn't track any of their food. There will be a week where they didn't put a single piece of real food on their plate. It's like, well, do you know what you need to do? Yeah. Do you know why you need to do it? Yeah. Why couldn't you do it? Yeah, I don't know. Well, we gotta go here, don't we? We gotta go here. So I guess number 2. What time we got?
What was that? It's 1:21.
Okay, cool. I won't keep you guys here too much longer. So we talked about the triggers surrounding stressful events, but this is the part right here. So, anyone disagree with the fact that a high sense of purpose makes everything better? Does anybody know why that's the case?
Gets you through that stressful shit because you know why you're doing it.
Exactly. When I asked him why he comes to jiu-jitsu, he more or less said, I fucking have to. Right? Like, this is the thing I love. Right? He just blew his Achilles, he's here. He's got a high sense of purpose for why he's here. But the big picture, big purpose, right, is what's going to make you do those corrective exercises. It's going to make you take the time to do the breathing. Because if you don't have that, it's a fuck it. Fuck it, right? Big picture, more to the point, a little more heavy-handed. Are you living a lie? Is there any part of your life that you're living and representing yourself a certain way when that's not you? 100% of us do it. But to what degree? For 20 years, I showed up every day for 10, 12 hours. I'm a manager of a grocery store. The fuck you are. I was not I'm never a manager of a grocery store. But I got to play that role for 10, 12 hours a day. And it killed me. Let me give you an example of what it can do to your body. Jen. You guys maybe have seen this. This is kind of a cute little circus trick. Jen, go ahead and put your arms out like that. Good. Can you resist me? No, resist. I don't get people shorter than me very often. Okay, so go ahead and put them back up. Now, I want you to say with confidence your name. My name is.
My name is Jennifer.
Confidence.
Are you sure that?
Confidence.
I don't know.
Does anybody know their name? Does anybody know their name? Anyone know their name? Come on up. Okay, sure. My name is first and last name.
My name is Jennifer Green.
Yeah. Relax. confidently say, my name is Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris.
See how much weaker she is, right? When she's telling a lie. When she's telling a lie, right? Now, this is what we do when we show up to life. A, pretending to be someone we're not, or B, living outside of our purpose. That doesn't mean that if you're in a job that's not ideal for you, but it's serving the purpose, that you need to just turn around and run from it. That's not what we're saying. But just be in touch with what it is you're actually doing. Now, if you're at a job you don't like, but there's all kinds of things that you could do outside of your life to make it worthwhile, but you're not in touch with it, then the pain of that job, the amount of buckets that job puts into you, the amount of drops that job puts into your bucket, they're going to be really big. They're going to be coming fast, and the bucket's going to fill. Right? But how can you empty that bucket? Well, you can say, why do I do anything I do? Why do I show up to this job for 10 hours a day? To pay the bills. Okay. What else are you here for? Well, my family needs a home. It needs heat. My kids like Netflix. Cool. Why is that important to you? I'm a provider. Awesome. Why is that important to you? Sooner or later, you'll get to something that's powerful enough for you to see the gratitude in the situation that you've got. Or to say, you know what? I am not grateful for this situation. I can do better. And I will not choose to stay here a minute longer. You see, nothing's changed besides the way you're looking at the situation. Right? That keeps us from getting in victim mentality, keeps us from getting into that child archetype, that prostitute archetype. Right? A lot of us think we're going to work and sucking wiener for $1. Right?
Second wiener made me laugh, sorry.
I wasn't sure if it's that or the dollar. It's quantity, not quality. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Like, if you are in a job that you hate, but you shouldn't hate it because it gives you the freedom to do everything else you love to do, maybe the thing you hate is not knowing why the fuck you do everything else. Maybe not. Maybe you know you can do better. That's up for us to decide as individuals. So boom, right there, purpose. Why we do anything. How much energy that takes for her to live a lie. Kamala Harris. Like, she was holding when she said her real name, you were holding my hand there. It's twice as strong, but it's taking half the effort. Right? It's like doing a 1-rep max push-up. She was doing a 1-rep max arm hold, right? And she's like, takes a lot of energy. Takes a lot of energy. Integration. So how well are we managing our physical needs, our body's cleanliness needs, and our ability to stay well up here? You do not have to go through the day miserable. It's an option. It is 100% optional. Just like being in pain is optional. Feeling like shit is optional. Not having energy is optional. All of it. None of this is happening to us. It's actually happening for us. Right? Because if I wake up every single day with brain fog, boy, it's a pretty good signal that I'm doing something that I could improve upon, feel better. Right? But if I was doing that shit that was going to eventually kill me, but I didn't get the brain fog, that wouldn't be very helpful, now would it? Right? Just one day you don't wake up. So that's integration. So how well is that integrated? In other words, what are we under-expressing or what are we over-expressing in our life? If we come here to de-stress, awesome. Awesome. But if we end up overtraining and spending all of our time here, staying for 2 hours afterwards, thank you for doing that, by the way, but staying for 2 hours afterwards to keep drilling this move. But really, we're doing that because we don't want to go home and think about the things that we haven't revisited that have been bothering us for years. See how that's an overexpression of the physical? In other words, I need momentary need. Well, if this place is an aspirin, right, when it could be like the whole kit and caboodle, this could be PubMed for you, but it's just an aspirin to mitigate all the other things in your life that are adding to your bucket that you don't want to look at. I'm not saying either one's good or bad, it's just an opportunity. So the more integrated you are, the less likely you are to over or under express aspects of ourselves. Typically, we over express either thinking, doing, or feeling. And we under express either thinking, doing, or feeling. So some of us are way high on the doing scale. Some of us are really low on the doing scale. Some of us are super high on the thinking scale. Some of us would rather go shovel snow than think about anything. It's figuring out what you want to escape and not escaping, immersing in that. So that's integration. When you're able to look at the aspects of yourself, whether it be the physical, mental, or emotional body, spiritual body, and know exactly where your cone drill is. Right? Anybody here ever hired a personal trainer or someone to help you drill technique on the side? Maybe like when you were in high school, like a fucking basketball shooting coach or something? Anything? Anybody? Did you guys ever work on something with your coaches that you were really good at already? You did?
Yeah.
You didn't work on the stuff that you were bad at?
No, I did. I worked on a few things that I was good at.
Yeah, but mostly the stuff you needed to improve on,
Yeah.
right? How about you? Same thing. Now, if you went to a coach and let's say you're soccer or basketball, and let's say you go and they check your dribbling, they check your drive, they check your jump shot, they check your layup, all that, right? Left and right. And you find you're pretty good with both hands, but your first step to the left is really shitty. Your first step to the right is dynamite, but they only work on your step to the right. Right? You probably feel like you got ripped off. Yeah. But it's what we do in life. So jiu-jitsu is like your first step to the right. I know this works. I know I feel better when I come here. Right? But is there something else that represents your first step to the left that boy, if I got that figured out, my game would be so much tighter. The game would be so much better. Like we all have those thoughts. So being integrated is the ability to look at those areas and face them head on. And when you're not, that's the person that has a shitty squat for 25 years and gets injured. That's the person that has a shitty lunge their whole life, gets injured. But they go to the gym all the time. They're at the gym every freaking day. Squatting like shit, lunging like shit, twisting like shit. It's like, dude, 2 months you can fix that. But they won't. Alignment, living in alignment, is just basically the difference between integration and alignment. Is living in alignment is the path. Integration can be momentary. It can be just describing your current state or your state in the past few years. I've done a good job at staying integrated. Now, living in alignment is knowing what it takes for you to stay integrated and living that path. That's alignment. Okay. Somatic. So we'll just finish with this. Somatic storage. So, anybody here never have something really stressful that's happened in their life? Like they can't think of a traumatic, stressful event. So everybody's got one, right? If you were to close your eyes right now and everybody do this. Just take a few breaths, let your mind come back to wherever it's at, or wherever it's at. And think about a really stressful event. Maybe it's the most stressful, maybe you don't want to think about the most stressful, but a really stressful event that occurred in your life. Now put yourself back in that place, like you're there. Anybody not feel some sort of like emotional response from that? Nothing? When you revisit it? It's that fucking testosterone I was talking about. Get in touch with it now, bro. It'll come back loud. No surprise. But what I'm getting at there is what you did is you just created an energy, didn't you? You just created it. Now we do that every fucking time something happens that we don't like. We create an energy around it. Why? Because we describe what it means to us. Or we assign meaning to the event. Right? Not to go too deep in the weeds, what I'm just trying to say is, that was just mine. But now think about the energy that was created at the time of the event. And energy doesn't just go away. It stays there. Now you just created like a little pattern. Right? And anything that mimics that event is going to create a similar response. Right? So let's say somebody had an old lady that cheated on once. And I don't think you're supposed to say that anymore. A wife that cheated on them once. And Europe and Idaho. A wife that cheated on once. Right? And maybe this person did everything right and treated her like gold. She was just that person. Nothing he could have done. She was broken. She was just not living in alignment. But that person now has this complex surrounding being vulnerable, being deceived, manipulated, lied to, cheated on. Now, anything that resembles that to this person, whether it be in the work environment, fucking politician they're voting for, or whatever, anything that mimics that is going to create a similar response. Now, every time that happens, it's going to further enhance the blockage for that person. And that shows that we see it over and over and over again. There's all kinds of literature out there about people experiencing like cathartic releases and diseases going away, failing organs coming back to life, all kinds of stuff. And this is how energy really works. Just like when you get the stress breathing pattern going. Because you have stimulus after stimulus after stimulus all day, notifications on the phone, people at work, phone rings, whatever, and then pretty soon we're all locked up. Well, our energy is stuck right in here. Well, if that pattern stays for years and years and years, like we said about the movement, stuff just doesn't move the way it's supposed to through your entire body. So that's what somatic storage is. In the hippie woo-woo world, it's become really marketable and brandable, like this. I swear, you look at a lot of this stuff and you think you got to go drink ayahuasca tea by some shaman that's got one tooth and he's blowing smoke in your face and you're snorting rapid. Like, I'm sure that's fine. Like, sign me up, I'll be there. But honestly, guys, this stuff, I've seen it over and over again. This stuff gets released when you allow it to release. And how do you allow it to release? Stop resisting that it's happening and go visit it. Period. Just like doing a left-handed dribble drill. And you do that over and over again. And if you're paying attention to the other stuff that keeps your body healthy and clean, it will release. Movement is great for releasing shit. And you guys move all over the place the whole time. Getting in touch with a lot of this stuff, plus all the movement you're doing in there, will help release a lot of stuff you got stored in there if you have a bunch of stuff stored. You got nothing. You got nothing. You're like, what? Right? You just probably don't have enough in your bucket somatically for that to really be calling out to you.
You just wait.
You just wait.
You'll be angry one day too.
2 or 3 more elections, you'll be done with everything. So as you can see, like, your body is just, like, I hate even using the term body, it's just so limiting. Like, your mind, you are a mind. Your mind is not in your brain, your mind is everything. Think of yourself as a mind. Think of yourself as a conscious source of vibration and energy. And then that way we don't have to think about things so allopathically. When my knee hurts, must be because my knee hurts. No, dude, that you're an energy body. This is just where the fucking signal is. This is what's turned up loud. What in the whole fucking matrix is causing it? It's generally starting somewhere in here. Any questions about any of that? Anybody completely fucking like in the weeds? Like, no, we covered a lot of stuff. The important thing is these 2 things right here. What's in your bucket? What are you doing to dump shit out of it?
How do you like find the psyche thing that's like bugging you?
There's a process.
I want to say tea, bro.
Yeah. Go with all your hippie friends, go in the woods, and just get after it. There's a process to it. The short answer is know what your triggers are, right? And relate this stimulus. In other words, are you talking about like something's causing anxiety or anger within you? Or something like that?
I don't know. Like my neck hurts. So if there's like a psychological reason for that, then how would I go about figuring out what's going on?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. It's a very good question. So for you, what I would do is I would figure out exactly what your personality type is, right? And then I would figure out, from there I can know what your core motivations are, I can know what your biggest fears are, I can know what your biggest desires are. And from there, we play the game. I'll probably have to dig a little deeper with you, but figure out, what were your most stressful events in life, right? What do you prioritize most in life right now?
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we can trace back to see if there's some sort of somatic event that's going on.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, pre work and you're fucking sleeping on.
It's like
Right?
it's like scary accurate. Like the first time I met Gary and I told him my personality type, he told me my biggest fears instantly, and I'm not usually one to cry, and day one I was like in tears trying to figure out like how the fuck he knew anything that he knew.
What?
Don't get scared. Guys do not cry. Guys do not cry.
That's not true.
It's only the girls, and they're tears of joy. This is a very fun process. No, but that sounds scary for people. The thing is, really, it is fun. It is fun. And I'll be honest. First time I had like, I don't want to call it a reading. Assessment sounds fucking dumb too. First time I had a clarification. Like, how do you use words that aren't too thick? When the first time I got a clarification, it was like, yeah, that's kind of spooky. You know that much about me, right? But the spookier that is, it shows you how much more you benefit from it, right? Because that's your left-handed dribble drill that you don't want to do, right? But yeah, basically, what we're trying to find out by knowing your core motivations and your biggest fears is what you're resisting in life, right? Because what is mobility? It's a lack of resistance.
I can attest to how accurate, like just going from physical to emotional, to like your personality and how everything works. Is the first time we were doing an assessment with Jerry. He was doing a physical assessment on Lauren. He just looks at her and says, "You people pleaser?" And I was like, "What the fuck?" Just looking at her back. What the fuck? And I was like, sitting there, and I like tried to ask a question, but they're in conversation. I'm not even listening. I'm like, how the fuck did you know that? Like, we hadn't even done the personality test, or we haven't even done any of the work yet. Like, literally, we're meeting for the first time and just doing physical assessments. And like, Lauren is a people pleaser, so it was just sitting in the background. Like, I knew that, but I knew that Jerry didn't know that because we only talked twice. This was only our second time talking. And like just doing a physical assessment, like being able to find something like that out, like just blew my mind. Which then made it easier for me to actually like, I don't actually do this shit. I don't get into this shit. I just go to work. Like I just come to jiu-jitsu. Like you just do what you do. Like shit happens in life, and you just keep going. But I felt like I had a pretty big bucket, but that's pretty fucking heavy. Once it starts to get pretty full. So it's definitely weird at first for somebody like me, but it gets very interesting very quickly.
Yeah, and
I can attest to the fact that like the physical shit was like, yeah, like we do workouts, so like fuck all that.
what is this?
What were we talking about last week? Like with this.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun.
It's fun. It is fun because you're getting to know somebody that you thought you fucking knew, and then you realize how much energy you've spent in your entire life to not get to know this person. Like almost everything that is in your life that is undesirable in the moment is something you've chosen, but you're not willing to admit you've chosen it. And you're also not willing to go get to know the person who chose it. And this is what they call in the hippie world inner child work, right? Go and ask that inner child what it wants, which I don't recommend. Don't ask the inner child what it wants, because it doesn't matter what it wants. Sorry, I digress. But it's really getting down to that deep shit, getting in there, right? Figuring out, well, why do I do this? Right? It's not because so-and-so's an asshole, right? That's not the answer. It's not the answer. And it's so liberating. It's so liberating. We don't realize how spiritually obese we are. We talk about obesity all the freaking time. But what happens in the physical body is just a manifestation of what's going on in everything else. And the fact that we spend so much freaking advertising money and enrollment money and all this crap to get people to lose weight, it just makes me want to puke. Makes me want to puke. Anybody that needs to lose weight, there's bigger fish to fry. And you fry those fish, the weight goes away.
I accidentally lost 25 pounds like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Never
Yeah, we
tried to lose weight. Never felt like I was overweight or limited other than hurting my knee. But accidentally went from 235 to 210.
I didn't even know I had weight to lose, and I'm going down a whole weight class. I lost a bunch of weight. It's emotional
Yeah.
weight.
Yeah. Like, guys, I'm not, this isn't hippy dippy shit. This is real. This is legit. Like, you are a mind complex. You are a consciousness. That's it. You're a being of light. Everything is included. So if you're starting to gain weight or get pain in the body, trace it. People, I've never seen anybody that's got, 100 pounds to lose. It's all okay up here. They're resisting more than anybody else. Okay. So just leave you with some things to keep in mind as far as if you're wanting to source some of your own stuff. Know your pattern. So what do I mean by pattern? Everybody's got this going on, the physical, psychological, chemical hopper here. But for some of us, the physical portion is that big. Maybe the chemical's really small. Maybe the psyche's medium sized. For others, the psyche might be that big and the others might be that small. So whatever your pattern is going to show you what you're over and under expressing. Okay? So if I've got a huge obstruction in the psyche, I'm probably ruminating on stuff. I'm probably telling a lot of stories about life's events that may or may not be true. Whatever the case may be. I'm probably completely out of touch with my triggers and why those actually plant the seeds for future stressful events in my life. Stress is not objective. The more stress that you're having in your life, or stressful events or stressful triggers, those are all directly in relation to what your triggers are, which are those tie into those core motivations, those basic desires, those biggest fears. Those 2 or 3 words we were talking about earlier with Lauren. So know your pattern. Does anybody get questions on how the pattern works? It's pretty simple. Okay. Know why you do anything. That's your purpose, right? So it's like, okay, why is it important to be a father? Why is it so important that I have a good example for my children? Why is it so important that they turn out okay? Right? And it's beyond because that's the right thing to do. And if that's where you end up and you can't really come up with anything more nuanced than that, right? That's probably gonna be a lot of drops in your bucket. Because there's gonna be a lot of maybe resentment in your day, maybe a nihilistic attitude about certain things. That just caused some confusion. Do the corrective exercises. So once you source what it is in the physical body, in the chemical body, and in the psyche that are your biggest areas of opportunity to iron things out, put the work in. Stop doubling down on things you're really good at. Just carve time away from the shit you're really good at that you're spending time on and apply it to something else. It's fun. It will add spice to your life, I promise. This is really the formula. What's going on in your mind? How are you moving? What are you eating? And how much rest and work you getting? You get all this stuff down pat and watch how your mobility improves. Just watch. Now there's a caveat in each one of these, and I'll just point out directly the movement. Obviously there's some work you gotta do there. You gotta figure out how you're moving and on each of the primal patterns of movement. On top of that, I would say even succinctly, how is your breathing pattern affecting your ability to move? how is your breathing pattern affecting your ability to move? And what here is affecting that breathing pattern, and what here is affecting that breathing pattern. It was basically all about psyche and the diaphragm. Honestly, it doesn't get much more simple than that. Any questions? All right. Well, I appreciate you guys for showing up. These guys are brand ambassadors for me. So if you ever have any questions, they can arrange a meeting. If you have any questions about enrollment with me or what that would look like, they can answer your questions. They know what I do inside and out. Or if you're ever curious about anything, you can get my contact information from them.
There's cards in the lobby.
Oh yeah, I got cards in the lobby. Grab a card. But yeah, I just appreciate you guys for showing up. And if there's no questions, thank you.
Thank you.